What would you say is the most important part of writing copy? Would you say it's the headline? Would you say it's the first sentence? Would you say they all carry equal weight?
I would say it's the concept. It's the idea of the offer is more important than anything else. To me, it's all copy. To me, the name of the product is what everything else hangs off of. I really have a hard time creating offers without that name. The important part, I think, is just.
I know you sell a course, so this is going to be an interesting question. Well,
Yeah.
not really, because I mean I know your answer, but I want you to really think about it. Do you really believe anyone could become a good copywriter? Like
No.
that?
No.
Okay.
No, I would never say that. I mean, can anybody become good? Sure, probably. If you're willing to put the work in, if you are not afraid of it, but it's not easy. And not anybody can become great. That's for sure, right? Like there's a reason that people at the very top are at the very top, and it's because it's fucking hard to do. But I do think anybody can get to the point they can do competent copy for what they're doing. And I do think that anybody who is running their own business needs to know at least enough copywriting to be able to hire somebody, right? And here's the other thing too, is like copywriting is cool, but like copy thinking is more important, right? Copy concepting is more important. David Deutsch and I talked about this actually. Like the number one thing I try to teach, the whole first half of the course that I'm selling right now, the Pig Method course, is not about writing. It's about thinking. It's about understanding emotions, about understanding the storytelling. It's about understanding what people really want, brainstorming ideas for products, all of that stuff. And I say, like, if you can learn to think more like a copywriter, well, two things will happen. A of all, you will lose all faith in humanity. And B of all, you'll make a hell of a lot more money and be able to just kind of work more powerfully. The mistake I made for years was thinking that as a copywriter, I didn't have what it took to be an entrepreneur. And it really turns out it's mostly the other way around. I had everything I needed and more because I could write the goddamn copy, right? Whereas they have to actually go and hire somebody for X thousands of dollars to do it.
And so when you look at great copywriters, what seems to be like the skills that they all have? Like what are the traits?
Man.
What are the traits?
Curiosity. It's massive curiosity. You know, got to be somebody who just finds shit interesting. Read a lot of books, find people interesting, find psychology interesting. That's the main thing. A lot of copywriters are really antisocial, which is always kind of fun because I'm not. So at conferences, I'll be trying to introduce them to people and they're just like, I want to hide in the corner and have a drink. But yeah, I think it's curiosity and doggedness and a willingness to work alone because you spend a lot of time alone just working on your stuff. And competition is kind of a big thing. Like a desperate desire to win can come in really handy as well. But I think it's mostly just about, curiosity and just finding the creative work interesting more than anything else. The good ones anyway.
And do you have any, aside from buying your course, what are ways that, you would train someone or tell someone to get deep in the psychological aspect, like to train them in order to be like, here are like my top 3 tips. You want to dive deep into the psychological aspect of it, do these 3 things.
Read a book called Sapiens. I forget who wrote it, but it's kind of about the history of humanity. And I think it does a lot of really interesting stuff about how we became what we are as animals and as humans. I think I read a lot of just.
Who wrote that? No,
I'm forgetting the name of the guy. Good book though. I really enjoyed it. Yeah, it's a foreign name. It's not a standard American name. I'm kind of forgetting what it is off the top of my head.
Yeah.
That's a big part of it. I mean, dude, like cults, research cults. I spend a lot of time. I've listened to a bunch of podcasts about cults. I've read every book about cults you can find out there. That stuff is really, really interesting. That will teach you a ton about persuasion, a ton about the fact that no matter how smart you are, you can still be persuaded. In fact, my favorite people to sell are people who think they can't be sold. Because they're just like, yours will never work on me. I'm like, sure, buddy. Yeah, you keep like they're really easy because they have no actual defenses because they think they're too tough for it. I think it's just like becoming a student of human nature, man. I mean, my reading list is generally a whole bunch of stuff about brain science. There's a great book called Meet Your Happy Chemicals that I love that talks a lot about how our reward system actually works and the fact that like you don't get a dopamine hit when you grab the apple, you get a dopamine hit right before you grab the apple. And how that's kind of interesting and important and why people get disappointed once they actually get what they have and how you can use that in copy to, build up anticipation and shit like that. But I think, it's just about, you just have to like passionately find people interesting, I think is the main thing about it. And do a lot of reading, I guess.
What would you say is the most important part of writing copy? Would you say it's the headline? Would you say it's the first sentence? Would you say they all carry equal weight?
I would say it's the concept. It's the idea of the offer is more important than anything else. To me, it's all copy, right? This is the thing. When I started doing my own offers, Text the Romance Back, like I didn't do Text the Romance Back till I had that name, right? Because to me, the name of the product is what everything else hangs off of. I really have a hard time creating offers without that name. Same with Make 'Em Worship You. I was like, I need a good benefit title that fulfills exactly what the women in my niche want. What should it be called? Okay, make him worship you. Then I built a product off of that. The important part, I think, is starting from what the audience wants, not what you want to sell them. And then you build the product out from there.
And so do you, like, I mean, how do you know that? Like, it's going back to my question where you don't do any research, but how do you know what your audience wants if you do no research?
Well, I mean, I don't do any research now for niches I understand, but it's also, I've been doing this for like 16, 18 years. And it's just about understanding. Like, here's something I say all the time. You're not special, and that's awesome. Right? You are not special. Everybody sits around thinking they were the only one to have this horrible thing happen when they were 12, or this other thing happen, or this person got cancer, or whatever else. You are not special. All those doubts that you have, everybody else has too. All the imposter complex stuff you have, everybody else has too. And one of the things I teach people to do is use your own emotions, use your own experiences. I may not be a 45-year-old divorced woman, but I can understand them pretty well by thinking about my own life and not being afraid of the fact that we all have a feminine aspect to our personalities, despite myself being incredibly hairy, and just kind of getting into that. It's all inside you already if you're willing to kind of face it, I feel like. And then on top of that, you know, going to Reddit can be interesting. Talking to people inside your audience can be interesting. For a lot of stuff, I've done it for so long that it's become unconscious competence. And then I had to like figure out how to systemize stuff to be able to teach other people, which is pretty interesting.
I would imagine that there's a lot, like if you could work in the romance space, right? And you could convince people to fall in love with someone or whatnot, or sell that idea that you could convince people to fall in love with you, then almost every other business seems kind of easy. So what transfers from that area that you think has the biggest impact towards other niches?
It's just about the dream, man. You know, it's just about the biggest thing about any of it, the biggest thing I've learned in marketing in general is that your audience wants to be led more than anything else in the world. They do not want to take responsibility for their problems, and they do not want to trust themselves to solve the problem because fundamentally they think they're going to fuck it up, right? So like even in the closes that I do, very often I'll do a crossroads close, and in it I'll have like 3 options, right? Like right now you're at a crossroads in your life, which I learned from Clayton Makepeace. He learned it from who else knows, right? It's been around forever. But if you're at a crossroads in your life and you really only have 3 options, you know, option 1 is you can leave this page and forget you ever met me, forget you ever watched this video, go back to being miserable, go back to being a cat lady, and 40 years from now, you'll be sitting there with a bunch of regret and blah, blah, blah. Option 2 is you can go off and do this yourself. You can go through all the steps that I personally went through to discover this information, but we both know you're not going to do it. We both know you're going to get busy. And we both know that even if you do it, you don't have the expertise to be able to do it right. Do you? Because people fundamentally do believe they're going to fuck it up, which is why they actually, more than buying a product for the product, they're buying a product to abscond from responsibility.
Is that why most people buy courses and never watch them?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Because they feel like by buying the course, they took action. And then in a weird way, it's the course's responsibility to get the result at that point, right? Like that to me is a really big psychological aspect of the entire thing. And even like when I became a relationship expert, quote unquote, my ex-wife would ask me, who made you a relationship expert? I'm like, I did. I just decided I was, and I went off there. And she was like, you don't have any letters after your name. I'm like, I know, but I'm willing to get up on stage and say, I'm a relationship expert, and people really want somebody to tell them what to do. So if you're willing to have confidence and get up and do that, people will follow you. Yeah.
I love that.